Okay, so let's analyze Johnny a little more, okay? This is Dark Reign. This is like 2010, 2011, somewhere around there, right? So this is that time in continuity where Johnny has basically stopped looking for love. Okay? He stopped looking for like meaningful connections in relationships with like women and stuff like that, okay? He just stopped looking for like the perfect girls. And this kind of reinvention of him, okay, kind of comes from like post Heroes Reborn, okay? Because it's basically like Johnny already found it. With Elijah, he already found love, okay? But like he can't have it. There's too much pain connected to it, okay? That like he can't have it. Okay? He already found love. That's not something John Storm looks for anymore. He already found it. He just can't have it, okay? He can't have Elijah. He just can't have her, okay? There's too much attached to that. All right? So like what is it? What is it about this guy then? Is probably what you want. Like what is it with these two here? Like look, like what is this? Huh? What is okay, so here's what it is, okay? Why is Johnny looking at him like this? Okay? Johnny is seeing himself in this person. That's what's happening here, okay? Johnny sees a great deal of himself in him, especially with this sob story he's selling, but also just in general, okay? Just like even just outwardly, right? He sees what? Money, right? Dawkins big in money. We don't know how, but Dawkins always has money. All right, he's always got money. Okay, okay. He sees like a guy who's like shamelessly flashy. You know, you don't really see it in this one, but yes, in the earlier issues, you always see Dawkins very fashion sensitive. Okay, like always, always, always. You see him with he's known for like fashion labels and luxury and stuff like that in the world of fashion. Very him, very him, right? He's also known for being good looking, right? Also very Johnny, right? He's known for style. Look at his hair. This is all style. It's all very particular, you know? Johnny's known for all these things too. Style and hair obsession, right? The whole like just sex appeal. He's known for that too, and so is he, you know? There's also a great deal of like inner conflict with oneself. You know, Johnny sees himself in him. You know, what else he sees? He sees that he's trying to do better. And Johnny, that's like his main thing about himself. He always knows that he's capable of doing better. Okay. He's always wanted to be a better person, a more mature person, right? At some point after post Heroes Reborn, he has stopped trying, right? But he sees somebody here who's still trying. He sympathizes. Johnny's a great sympathizer. He sympathizes with that. He sees himself in him. They are very, very similar, okay? Like, look, another superpowered being. Control. That's another thing, right? Johnny's big with control, right? At this point in continuity, right, of Johnny's life, it's all about control. Control with his image, control with his powers, related to his powers, right? Because you know, Johnny has to control his powers. He could kill somebody. Like you saw how Ben was earlier when he attacked Daken? That was Ben being out of control. Okay? Johnny knows what that's like. You you have the power to kill somebody really, really easily if you keep it in control. Control is everything to Johnny Storm, right? He's controlling his image, right? That whole playboy thing, you know, that's a facade. That's what he's curated over the years, right? And his powers, that's a great deal of control, right? Even love, he controls who, like he purposely picks like models and stuff like that, so he can control the depth of the relationship. Okay, this is another character who prides himself on control. Wolverine is one of those characters. His father, Wolverine, he wants to be nothing like him, okay? He thinks he's better than him, right? You know how Wolverine gets all feral, right? Just like slashing bone berserker. That's Wolverine getting out of control. He loves to control himself, the whole situation. This whole thing is Daken. Even though, look, this is very particular scene. Even though, where's it? Even though he is surrounded here, it looks like everything's out of his control. In actuality, everything is in his control. He's controlling the way that they will perceive him with the image, right? With his sob story, right? He's controlling what they know about him by being like, oh, you don't want to basically, oh, me and Wolverine never got along, but that's not, he doesn't really know me, it's all, everything about this character is control. He wants to control your emotions, to control like the way that like you view him, right? It's all about control. And Johnny Storm, so much of him is about control, you know they're so very, very alike. It's the same thing with Spider-Man. The same thing as Spider-Man, right? With Johnny, right? This is why I think Slot, well, you have to get into Slot. Because when it comes to Johnny and Peter, so much of what we know about them over the years is because Slot was the one who constantly would like didn't forget about them, right? And Slot was so great at writing Johnny from like Spider-Man's like perspective, right? And I'm talking about like when Johnny shows up in a Spider-Man book, right? Because since then, the relationship has like evolved so much over the years that Spider-Man's got this like really nice balance of like being able to see Johnny from both the eyes of the world and the eyes of like a really, really close friend, right? So his idea of Johnny, like Peter's, is like who he is, like who he is will like always be like some sort of like when Peter sees Johnny, there's always like some sort of glamour surrounding him, right? Like celebrity of it all, right? Like he's a friend, sure, but like he's a very, very famous friend. Okay, he will always have this air of like flawlessness and like a lack of worry. Like any mistake he makes will just like fall back on the rest of the team. Like he doesn't have to carry the brunt of all the things that he does, right? Like there's like this thick shield of confidence always too, and like this calm coolness, right? Johnny will always like when he shows up in the Spider-Man book, he'll always bring with him like this annoying like arrogance too. That's like somehow like disarmingly charming, right? But at the same time, he would be like surprisingly like compassionate and relatable, funny, right? But also at times like incredibly stupid, but like always in some ways very smart, right? And these are all the things that in a way like you will like literally say to like describe Spider-Man. There are times Spider-Man acting so stupid, you know, but you all know Peter Parker is very, very intelligent, right? So like they say opposites attract, but like so do like similars. So aren't so and Peter Parker too is like all those things to like Johnny at once. Anyway, yeah. And like Johnny's like his arrogance, you know, you know. Johnny's like he's a youngest member, right? Known for like being immature, for being reckless, right? Directionless. Once he left Elijah, once him and Elijah separated, now it's like Johnny Storm is directionless, right? But like in his like teen title, actually, like he's like actually really depicted as arrogant, right? That's like a world view of Johnny Storm. That's not like the real view of him, right? And like arrogance, that word is like more accurately probably used to describe Reed, like in the very like early days, because maybe I'll talk about some other time, but he's absorbed so many traits from all the rest of them. Johnny Storm absorbed traits from every last one of them. Okay? Like from the earlier days. Now that's all like thrown on him. Okay? Those first four, like directionless, you know, immature, reckless, the youngest member, like those words, right? The writers kind of cling to them, right? They write him from like the perspective of his teammates, right? Right, like you see it all the time. Like even Slot did it, right? He'll write Johnny Storm and like the Amazing Spider-Man book, where like we were one he was like post Hickman. I think it was the 680s I was talking about, right? There's like this quiet sort of maturity, right? This seriousness about him. And then like when you went to his FF run when Slot wrote him, oh my god, the juxtaposition is like mind-boggling. It's like complete like regression. Oh my god, why? Other thing with this too, right? Like the great like connection, like the understanding, here was that like he's basically saying like, oh, I'm walking around as like Wolverine, like that they look at me and they see Wolverine, like who am I if who am I outside of this mask? Like he's like, I'm basically still trying to discover myself, in this new world of like, you know, being outside of Romulus or where the hell he came from before. You know? Who am I if when if I'm not Wolverine, basically, you know? And that's like pulling at like the direct heartstrings of Johnny. He knows what that is. He's like, you know, because who is Johnny without if he's not the Human Torch? That's like one of his greatest struggles in life. Who is Johnny if he wasn't the Human Torch? You know, and that's for good reason why he questions that. You know, one thing about Johnny is that he's very different from the rest of his family, right? The rest of them, right? Before they became Fantastic Four, they all reached adulthood, you know, kind of like knowing who they were in a sense. This one, all he knows is fame. He's been famous since he was 16 years old, you know? That's when all of it hit him at once. Fame, super heroics, you know, celebrity, PR. This is all he knows. Like, his adulthood was all in fame, right? The rest of them reached adulthood, kind of got to discover who they were as people. He did not. He never knew who he was outside of being the Human Torch, you know? So when Daken is saying this to him, you know, he's like, I was curious, want to know what it was like, you know? Now I'm supposed to be him. Never asked for that, you know? So that like pulls at Johnny's heartstrings, you know?